Hi there, it's Mr. Paz with section 1.4, and you may see on the background there's a picture of the Property Brothers. So if you've ever watched, or your parents have ever watched HGTV, one of the most popular shows is this Property Brothers thing, and they teach you all about math properties. Well, not really, but it'd be pretty awesome if they did. They actually sell properties and fix up properties. But today we're going to be talking about properties of real numbers, so properties in math. So the learning target is to identify and use properties of real numbers. All right, and this is section 1.4 for right now. Couple things here, first of all. Um, we're going to skip that and go right here. Oops. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is the commutative property. And the commutative property, it works for addition and multiplication only. So make sure you have some notes on these properties. But the first property is the commutative property. And when I think of commutative property, I look at the first two letters of commutative. That's all you need to think of. Commutative, CO. CO stands for changing order. So changing the order. Whoops, I put a line there. And it works for addition and multiplication. You can change the order and it won't change the answer. And this is, again, this could be a review for you, but this is a good review, a good reminder that you can do this because it'll come up a lot of times. So for addition, here's a basic example. Um, 18 plus 54. I'm going to try to do it in my head. It's going to be about 72. And this is supposed to be an equal sign. I already found a mistake, so you can't claim this one. Found it. All right. That is equal to 15 plus, or 54 plus 18, because that is also 72. So it doesn't matter the order, you can switch it around for addition, it'll still work. If we're talking about algebra, a plus b would be the same thing as b plus a, or whatever variables or what have you. You could say 2 plus x. That's the same as x plus 2. Same thing. Those would be the same. All right, going down multiplication, it works the same way. Now I threw a decimal in here. It's good to be able to multiply with decimals. Think of 0.5 as 1/2. So if you multiply something by 1/2, you're really taking half of it or dividing it by 2. So 12 times 1/2 would be 6. Let's check this side. 1/2 times 12, same thing. It's going to be 6. So a times b, or ab, is equal to b times a, or ba. All right? Changing order, that's the commutative property. All right? All right, let's go to the next property. The associative property. I don't know if you've ever heard of the word associate before, but associate means to group. So you associate yourselves with a group, typically. I associate myself with teachers or math teachers or people who love the Packers. I would consider myself grouped in those categories. So we're going to put a group here because associative property has to do with changing the grouping. Okay, just think of the word associate. You're grouping yourself. Now, what I mean by that is, we'll show you two examples. Here's the addition one. Um, you can have 23 plus 9. So I'm just going to write this example as 23 plus 9 plus 4. You can group it as 23 plus 9, like we did here, and then add 4 after it. Because we know with order of operations, you do parentheses first. That would be the same thing, though, as if you group it this way. You could group it with the 9 and the 4. Do that first, and then add the 23 after. Because no matter how you do it, this would be 32 plus 4, which is 36. And let's look on this side. This is 13. So 23 plus 13 is also 36. Those are equal, meaning you can switch the order, or you can group them however you want if it's all addition. Not subtraction, just addition. You can always change subtraction into addition, though. So that's a good thing. It also works for multiplication, interestingly enough. This problem would have been 7, and I don't like using the x. So we're going to use a dot, or you can put them right next to each other, kind of like we have in the algebra side. 7 times 9 times 10. And this time we group the 7 and the 9. So 7 times 9 is 63 times 10. is 630. You add the 0 there. Let's see on the right side. We can group it with the 9 and the 10 together. Let's multiply that first. That's 90. 7 times 90. Now, how do you do 7 times 90 in your head? There's a 0 at the end, so let's just look at the 7 times the 9 and then add the 0 back at the end. Because 7 times 9 is 63, and then you add the 0, it would be 630. And there you go. They're equal, so it'll work either way. All right? And the algebra is shown right here. If you want to do multiplication A times B times C, you can do the A times B first with the parentheses around it, or you can group the B and the C together and do that first. It doesn't matter. You'll get the same result. That's why that is a great property. Now, I put down here to think about whether you think it'll work for subtraction or division. And you can certainly try it, but let's check it out. I grouped them differently. This was 10 minus 6 minus 2. We have it same order on both sides. So 10 minus 6 minus 2. On the left side, we did the 10 minus 6 first, which is 4, minus 2, that would be 2. On the right side, we grouped the 6 and the 2. So let's do the 6 minus 2 first. That's 4. So we have 10 minus 4, and that is 6. And those are not equal. So it doesn't work for subtraction. Sorry. No can do. Division will be the same thing, and you can check this yourself, but it won't work. Alright, so it does not work for subtraction or division. Alright, let's have one more property, two more actually. Maybe three. Oh, these are all short ones. Take note of them though. They're important ones. The first one is the identity property. Identity just means who you are. So if you are the number 6, you're the number 6, and no one can change you. Nothing can change you from that. So when we're talking identity here, that just means what can you do to a number to not change its identity, to not change it. So when you have, what can you do in a number without changing the original number for addition? What can you add to it? Well, you can add 0, of course. You can add 0 to a number and it won't change it. So the identity property says 10 plus 0 is still going to be 10. Or x plus 0 is still going to be x. That's just with some algebra. Now, it works for multiplication as well, as all these seem to just work for addition and multiplication. But what can you multiply a number by without changing it? Well, the answer is 1. You can multiply any number by 1 and it doesn't change how it looks. 10 times 1 equals 10. You can do x times 1. And that's still x, or 1x. Alright? That is the identity property. Alright? We'll just write, don't change my identity. Oh, here we go. I can't spell very well right now. That says change. Well, don't change my identity. Oh, move that back. Alright, two more properties, and they're very simple properties. First one is the negative property of multiplication. Does anyone know what happens when you multiply a number by 0? Well, sorry, not by 0, by negative. It becomes the opposite sign. So it's like when you multiply negative 1 times a number, it'll just become the opposite sign. So negative 1, the product, where product means multiply of negative 1 and a is negative a, or negative 1a. So if you multiply it by negative, it becomes a negative. Same thing as if you multiply negative 1 times negative a. That's going to be, two negatives become a positive, so that's going to be positive a. It just becomes the opposite sign. Okay? And the last property, the zero property of multiplication. What happens when you multiply a number by 0? Well, it becomes 0. We should know that. So 0 times a is 0. 0 times 6 is 0 as well. Okay? That is the zero property. So we have those three shorter properties here. But let's recap. Name that property. We should make this into a game. Like a game, a TV game show. Well, I don't know how many people would watch it. But all right, 42 times 0 equals 0. What property is that? What property is that? All right, so there I added the properties there. So we have the commutative property of either, remember, it's addition or multiplication. Associative property and identity property also for addition or multiplication. The negative property and the 0 property are just talking about multiplication there. So 42 times 0. Well, you're multiplying by 0. It becomes 0. I believe that is the 0 property of multiplication. All right, how about this one? We have lots of parentheses. The order stayed the same, but we grouped them differently. So think about grouping. Groupings. You group yourself with someone. You associate yourself with someone. That would be the associative property of, is it addition or multiplication? This one would be addition. Make sure you have that so we know what you're talking about. Let's see, I have another one on here. Wouldn't be a game show without at least 3 problems. Right here, 10x plus 0 is equal to 10x. Okay, so we added 0 to the 10x and it didn't change it. It did not change its identity, right? So it's the identity property of its addition because we added 0 to both sides. So this one's addition as well. All right, do I have any other ones? Or is that it for now? Oh, one more. All right, so we have m times 8 is equal to 8 times m, which is all equal to 8m. So it looks like m times 8 or 8 times m, we changed the order. And think of the changing order as the CO, the commutative property. So CO, we're going to bring that down, the commutative property. And you really just have to tell me if it's addition or multiplication there. And this one is dealing with multiplication. So here we go, multiplication. All right, those are the properties I got. We didn't do an example of the negative property, but negative property of multiplication, when you multiply by a negative, it changes the sign. So, that's all we have for this section. Here's a thought question for you to think about for next time. It says a movie ticket costs $7.75, a drink costs $2.40, and popcorn costs $1.25. What is the total cost for a ticket, a drink, and popcorn using mental math? I'm wondering if there's something you can use with one of those properties, maybe changing the order of how you do it or grouping them a certain way so you can add them up to use mental math. Because mental math is so much easier than having to whip out a calculator and figure out that way. All right? So think about that one and think back to your learning target, identifying and using properties of real numbers. Have a great rest of your day.